a couple of things to know about the tax credits. So there's efficiency tax credits and renewable tax credits.
Mm-hmm.
The efficiency tax credits are the ones that were expanded this year. They used to be set at like $500, and now you can take up to $3,200 in the tax year in which you make the installations.
Mm-hmm.
On the renewable side, one thing that's important to note is that for the first time now, battery storage is a part of what can get a 30% tax credit as well.
Mm-hmm. Hello, this is Izumi Tanaka with Home Green Homes Podcast. As a part of the new legislation, Inflation Reduction Act, also known as IRA, some financial incentives are now available for homeowners and builders to build higher performing residential buildings, as well as to improve existing homes for better comfort and efficiency. I have been dying to learn about what IRA has to offer to homeowners and builders so I can guide them to utilize this massive bill. Cynthia Adams, CEO and co-founder of Pearl Certification, generously offered to explain IRA in a nutshell. While there are many moving parts and the mechanics of the rebate are still pending, Cynthia offers some information we should be aware of. There will be more episodes to follow up on this topic, so stay tuned, and I hope you find this episode helpful. So Cynthia, thank you so much for coming today to talk to me.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, Izumi. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. So first of all, can you tell me briefly, I know this is Inflation Reduction Act is a pretty big bill that they passed last year, but for us, a realtor, and especially as a green realtor, and especially for you, a Pearl certification, what matters to us is how we can help the homeowners, how we can help the home builders to make more efficient homes and more high performance homes, and create more healthy homes for our people. So I would like you to kind of break down a little bit and briefly tell us what the Inflation Reduction Act is and the part that really is most relevant to us.
Okay, I will do my best.
Mhm.
So, as you've alluded to, the Inflation Reduction Act is kind of a sprawling piece of legislation, and it has built within it a lot of different benefits that ultimately track to the goals that it has around climate change and equity, and really helping to scale the technologies that are going to help us mitigate climate emissions. So we focus on say the single family homes or multifamily, which are probably near and dear to many of the agents and green agents especially. There are I think three different aspects of the Inflation Reduction Act that are worth paying attention to. One of them has to do with the tax credits, and those tax credits became accessible starting in January of 2023. So we'll get to the rebates in a minute, but I think it's important that anybody who has tax liability that is installing different types of energy efficiency measures or renewable energy measures is eligible as of now for their next year's tax cycle to take advantage of those credits. And I think it's especially important for contractors and builders to be aware of this, because I've heard from some contractors in particular, like, well, I don't know if I'm even going to talk to my homeowners about these tax credits. This is in the efficiency side, not renewables. And my advice to them is, well, whether you talk to them or not, TurboTax will, or their tax accountant will. So you need to be paying attention to this, because when tax time comes, if someone did replace their furnace with a heat pump, or a higher efficiency furnace even, or they did some shell work or what have you, that's going to matter. So if I were a real estate agent, I would get up to speed on the tax credit stuff right now, because I could be talking to my sphere, to my clients about that right now. And particularly buyers buying older homes that have older assets in them are really going to, I think, appreciate that knowledge and that help coming into it. And a couple things to know about the tax credits. So there's efficiency tax credits and renewable tax credits. The efficiency tax credits are the ones that were expanded this year. They used to be set at like $500, and now you can take up to $3,200 in the tax year in which you make the installations. And that's great. And for heat pumps, you can go as high as $2,000 in a tax credit. What's different from the renewable tax credits, though, is that they don't roll over, meaning if your tax liability, I'm just making these numbers up, is $1,000, but you could actually take $2,000, that's it. You're done at 1,000. They don't roll over into the following tax year. Renewables, they do.
Oh,
so
really?
Renewables, you can keep taking advantage of what your liability would have been because they roll over into the following tax year. But that is not the case with efficiency. So the efficiency will cover up to 30% of the installation, and depending upon what was installed, sometimes it covers labor, like in the case of HVAC. Sometimes it doesn't, like in the case of insulation, oddly enough. And so if you as a real estate agent were just to Google, energy efficiency tax credit, that's simple. You'll pull up an IRS PDF, and you can share the whole thing out with folks, or you can call some details. I know that at Pearl, for our Pearl partner agents, we're going to be creating an FAQ that will kind of distill the important points, and then agents can share it out with their customers.
Oh, that's great.
On the renewables side, one thing that's important to note is that for the first time now, battery storage is a part of what can get a 30% tax credit as well. And that didn't used to be the case. So I think particularly in places like California, where you have brownouts and other related issues, people are really interested in battery storage. And so having that 30% tax credit might really make that type of install attractive, along with the solar component.
Now, I have two questions based on what you just told me. You said that the tax incentives available as of January 23. So does that mean that the improvement that has been made this year, starting this year, is, solar was already effective, but other things like the battery or EV chargers. So I think I read somewhere that there was some retroactive tax credit available for something that was implemented last year in 2022, or is it not the case?
My understanding is that the tax credit last year was I want to say up to 26%,
right?
And they bounced it back up to 30 for 23, and that's the part that's retroactive. Like you can get the full 30% in 22. But the batteries and stuff are not retroactive. Those are in 23.
Okay.
And in 22, you can take if something installed in 2022, the limit for the energy efficiency tax credit is $500. And so the maximum that you could take in a calendar year now would be $3,200. And that would be for installations that are happening after January 1st.
I see. So, and then the other question was when we were talking about builders. So when builder builds a home with, that installed either solar panels or storage or EV chargers, where does the tax credit go? Does the builders get to receive the tax incentives, or is it given to the new homeowners?
I think in many instances they try to have it available to the new homeowners. And so when the installation takes place and how that's financed becomes kind of a part of the conversation. But there is some it's a decision path, I guess, for the builder as to which way they want to do it. Do they want to try to take the tax credit and then sell the property afterwards? But in most instances, my understanding is that builders are trying to work the installation in such a way that the homeowner is actually going to take the tax credit, or the purchaser of the home.
Because that brings up a good question of how we can incentivize the builders. Because as I talk to builders, developers, to build green or build sustainable, they always look at the numbers, right? So the number has to work. So if they don't get the credit, if they pass on the credit to the homeowners, how can we incentivize the builders and developers?
So I think that there are some tax credits available for builders for Energy Star homes and zero net ready homes. And so that may be attractive to some of them. The Fannie Mae Homestyle mortgage has a $500 credit. So if they make use of that type of mortgage for their homes, then that would also, potentially, well, I don't know if that goes to them or goes to the lender actually, but it depends. A lot of builders that do production may sort of like own their own mortgage company. They may finance their own homes, in which case they could take it. But to me, it comes back to educating and engaging the home buyers, because they're the ones who have to say, I am willing to spend that money. I see the reason why I would want to spend that money. Like I get that this is going to help me manage my utility bills or my risk for increasing utility costs, or it's going to give me some kind of energy independence because of the solar and the battery option. So I think you really got to look at what type of customer the builder is trying to attract, like how big are the homes, how fancy are the homes, like what else is competing for wallet share from that potential buyer. And then there has to be a concerted effort to help translate that value proposition to the buyer, because people spend money. We've heard this for decades. People spend money all the time on things that don't have a payback, right? Like there's the whole thing about granite countertops. Like, there's no payback for a granite countertop.
That's right.
You just like them.
Yeah.
And the thing about energy, of course, is that there is a payback associated with it, but there's a lot of other benefits that we're aware of, like better indoor air quality and greater comfort. And, for some people that may be, wellness now is so important for people that are considering buying new homes.
Exactly.
And if you can translate these things into resilience and wellness and quality of life benefits, then I think you probably are going to have more people willing to spend the money to buy the high performance home, and the builder doesn't have to be convinced because they're profitable, and that's all that they want to be too.
That's true. And obviously, this is all the reason why we should certify the homes, just to really quantify and qualify all the benefits of all the high performance homes. And we can talk about that a little later. But so tell me about the rebates now. Let's
move into the rebates now. So the rebates are there's two big rebate programs. One of them is called HERA, HEERA, and it's the home electrification and
electrified homes, something like that.
Yeah, thank you. I just call it the electrification rebate because it's simpler and it's descriptive. But that one is $4.5 billion available for the upgrade and fuel switching for electrified homes. What's interesting about that rebate is that it's targeted for low and moderate income homeowners. So in order to even take advantage of the rebate, your income level has to fall at 150% area median income or below. If you're above it, that rebate will not be accessible to you. And if your household income level falls less than 80%, you actually can have an even bigger rebate. So the rebate itself is based upon the product installed, and there's sort of a cap set at $14,000 per home. So $8,000 say for a heat pump, $2,500 available for wiring, $4,000 for panel upgrade. You can see how if you're switching from gas to electric, you
Mm-hmm.
may need to do other things at the house in order to
Mm-hmm.
handle that increased electrical load.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's rebate dollars available for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, if you're lower income, then the rebate dollar can actually pay for 100% of the
100%.
installation
Mm-hmm.
costs, not just
Right.
capping out at 50.
Right.
Um, and these, there's a lot of conversation right now at between the U.S. Department of Energy, the National Association of State Energy Offices, and
Mm-hmm.
others around
Mm-hmm.
how this program gets put together. Everybody wants to know, well, how do I know if I income qualify? I will tell you right now that there's a tool out there that you can go use yourself. It's called the Area Median Income Lookup Tool.
Mm-hmm.
Area Median Income Lookup Tool.
Mm-hmm.
So a homeowner could go in there right now and put in their address, and it will tell you exactly what your area median income is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So and then you can kind of go, oh, well, this is how much I make, this is what my median income is, would I even qualify for the rebate? So while you're
Mm-hmm.
waiting for your state and the U.S. Department of Energy to put the guidelines together, get their programs approved, this will at least tell you whether or not you would qualify,
Right.
and potentially for how much.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
So my biggest question was, how do you verify your income level? I actually went to that website to see,
mhm.
I just actually put different zip code to see what the medium income are different. But do people have to submit their tax return, or do you know how they are going to qualify or verify that?
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what method they're going to take. I
Mhm.
know that nobody wants homeowners giving contractors their tax return. Like that,
Right.
that's just a bad idea all the way
Yeah.
around. Nobody
Yeah.
wants that.
Right.
So what they are talking about doing is tapping into different types of government databases,
Mm-hmm.
including the IRS,
Mm-hmm.
with a software tool that would allow someone, an individual, to put in
Mm-hmm.
their name, their social security number, address, things
Right.
like that, and then
Right.
get pre-approved
I
potentially
see.
for the rebates.
Right.
So it might happen, through the government,
Mm-hmm.
not through your contractor, but you
Right.
would need to, there'd be some way to let your contractor know that you've been pre-approved, and then they would
Mm-hmm.
know it's okay to go ahead and
Mm-hmm.
work
Mm-hmm.
scope it out.
Right. And
So
and
that is
so
something the DOE is looking at bringing to the states
right.
as a tool, because everyone has got a lot of concern around it.
Right. So yeah, that's my big concern too. So each state has to set up their own system where they can provide these rebates to homeowners without compromising their private information.
I think that the DOE would like to set something up that works for all of the states,
Oh, I see.
or create an a sort of qualified vendor
Mm-hmm.
RFP that the
I
states
see.
could then use like a
I
template,
I
and
see.
know that these vendors can supply that.
Mm-hmm.
The what is absolutely true about what you just said is that each state has to submit its own plan for
Mm,
approval to the DOE,
I see.
and then they get their monies based upon a formulaic grant that's tied to population size.
I see.
So if the state does not submit a plan
Mm-hmm.
before August 16th, 2024,
Mm-hmm.
they lose their rebate dollars, and that money can go to states that did.
Oh, wow.
So there's a time window that's
Mm-hmm.
like, you need to get your program out there, or your money's going somewhere else.
I
So
see.
um,
So then each
I think the
state
goal
really,
here is to get,
yeah,
get it out the door.
yeah.
Let's get these improvements.
Right. And so
Yeah.
so once these rebates are available, say for instance, if you qualified as a low income who will get 100% rebate, or a moderate income 50%, they don't have to put up the money up front themselves, right? It's my understanding is that it's an instant rebate. So if I'm a homeowner who qualifies to be a low income, I don't have to put out any money up front, and the rebate is already available. I think that would be a main
It is.
concern for a lot of people, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why the legislation was written to be a point of sale
Hmm.
rebate.
Hmm.
Now, if you're a contractor, you're going to want to make sure that that rebate gets reimbursed fairly
Yeah.
swiftly, or you could be cash flowing a lot of people. And that's the other thing that the states have to figure out is,
Mm-hmm.
everyone agrees the point of sale rebate makes the most sense, particularly
Mm-hmm.
for people who are, you know, at certain income levels. The
Mm-hmm.
question then is, all right, how do we make sure that we're efficient in getting those rebate dollars
Right.
out the door to
Right.
businesses that
Yeah.
are carrying it?
Yeah. It
Yeah.
would be very interesting to watch how it goes in the next coming months, I think.
It will be 100%. So the electrification rebates, and now we can talk a little bit about homes too.
Yes.
The electrification rebates can be combined, both rebate programs can be combined with the tax credits, but they
Okay.
cannot be combined with each other for the same installation.
I see.
So what that means is, if I do, let's say I fuel switch, I get rid of my dinosaur furnace and I put in a heat pump,
Mm-hmm.
and I take advantage of the $8,000 electrification rebate to help me
Mm-hmm.
do that.
Mm-hmm.
I can take also advantage of a $2,000 tax credit if I
Mm-hmm.
have tax liability.
Right.
What I cannot do is then take advantage of a $2,000 homes rebate, where the modeling to qualify for that rebate included the heat pump.
I see.
So you can't double dip in that way.
Right.
But if I did the homes rebate and I qualified for it because I did insulation and air sealing, and I replaced an aging water heater, and did other things that got me to a 20% improvement, then I could take that $2,000 rebate, and I could take the $8,000 heat pump rebate, because they're different things that I've installed that qualify for those programs.
Right. Now, so when you said, like, as an example, say you reduced 20% of the energy consumption, does that mean that you would have to get tested, right? You have to either get blow door tests done, or you have to send in Hearst rater or something. And how do you qualify that?
So on the homes rebates, they're projected energy savings,
Mm-hmm.
which means someone is doing an energy model.
Mm-hmm.
It could be, it is likely that the states will set some requirements for an energy audit, like
Right.
what needs to be included in an energy
Right.
audit, or what qualifications the contractor has to have to be able to do one.
Mm-hmm.
But that's for that home energy audit rebate,
Right.
which is
I
its own
see.
thing. For the homes rebate, what the legislation talks about is that the modeling software has to be BPI 2400 compliant. BPI 2400 is a standard that takes into account 12 months of utility bills, weather normalized, to calibrate the model.
I see.
So it's you collect information about the home's features, you put like what size, what age, what SEER system, what the insulation is like, put all that information into your energy model. And then it will tell you, this is how much energy we think the house is using.
I see.
And if you did these improvements, here's how much we think it would be using.
I see.
When you take the utility bills into account, the modeling says, oh, here's how much you actually used. Here's how much I thought you used. And do these things kind of line up? Because what you don't want is someone gaming the system and creating enormous savings that don't actually match to the energy use of the house.
Yeah.
The kicker with homes is that the modeling software, the way that the legislation is written today, says that it has to be BPI 2400 compliant. So right now, I know that there's a lot of conversations that are happening at the DOE, and again with NASIO, and with a whole bunch of industry actors, to try to figure out how do we simplify this as much as possible for contractors.
Right.
There are people like myself that may have moved recently, and I don't have access to the prior owners of my house's utility bills. So I would either need to wait until I'd been here for 12 months, or they need another solution for someone like me.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot about homes that is a little bit TBD, and everyone is really focused on how do we make sure that we remove friction so that the contractor has certainty in the modeling, and the homeowner has certainty in moving forward with doing these improvements, that they're going to get a rebate.
Yeah.
And The homes rebate also, you can get double the rebate if
Mm-hmm.
you are, under 180, 140, good grief, 150%
Right.
area median income.
Right.
So the $2,000 rebate becomes a $4,000 rebate,
Mm-hmm.
as an example. So
Mm-hmm.
the same, you don't have to income qualify, but if you do, then you can get even more off of
Right.
your installation.
Yeah, and all this sounds very complicated, and that's why I'm a little bit concerned about the whole process. How, because I would really like to be able to help homeowners in the area I live, because we have a lot of homes that have efficiency issues, and I know a lot of my neighbors are spending thousands of dollars every month on heating costs, and some people
Ouch.
are living without the heat just because they can't afford.
Mhm.
So I really like to be able to guide everybody how we can get these rebates. But it sounds like we're a lot of TBD, as you said, at the state level, local level. I guess we're gonna have to kind of wait and see what happens. But I think that, going back to Pearl, I know DOE in their with their rebates and incentives, they're also asking to get parties certified. Is that for homes that are being built or being on the is that does that apply for existing homes as well?
Actually, it's for one particular program that
Hmm.
the legislation requires a third-party certification, and that's the homes rebate program.
I see.
So we said electrification was 4.5 billion, homes is 4.3 billion, and every to access the rebate, the installation has to come with a third-party certification
I see.
delivered to the homeowner on behalf of the contractor, and
Hmm.
including information that can help that owner capture the equity value, which
Hmm.
is pretty much exactly what we try to do with our certification.
Hmm.
So I'm sure that there'll be other certifications available.
Sure.
As of right now, we're the only one that I know of that is IRA compliant.
Hmm.
And I think that from a real estate agent's perspective, what's really exciting about this is that it means the homeowner will have documentation of what was installed.
Right.
And this documentation, like particularly if it's a Pearl certification, will come with a report that tells the agent what data fields they can check off in the MLS.
Mm-hmm.
So it can, I mean, the goal is market transformation, where we now have data for comparables, we have data to do better CMAs, to do
Hmm.
better marketing, of high performing homes, because these homes are now able to be visible on the real estate transaction because of the certification and the appraisal addendum and
Hmm.
these other things.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
think that's where there's several ways in which a real estate agent can really tap into some of this in spite of its complexity. Thing number one is tax credits are here now. You can be talking to folks about it.
Yeah.
On the rebates, I would say it's a little bit of a wait and see, in that
Hmm.
we expect the programs to hit the streets not before probably end of Q4, but
Mm.
definitely coming into Q1 of next year.
Okay.
And the states are going to make it as easy as they know how.
Yeah.
My guess is that there will be some kind of an app. I know we're working on one
Hmm.
where a homeowner could put their address in,
Hmm.
answer a question around income qualification,
Right.
and then based upon information you can pull back about the home,
Hmm.
there'll be some suggestions for what rebate program might be the most appropriate one for that
Right.
homeowner,
Right.
based on what the income qualify
Hmm.
for and what their home is likely to need.
Hmm.
We don't want to turn this into a building science project for
Exactly.
anybody,
Yes.
or the rebates aren't going to go anywhere. So
Yeah.
you really just want to be able to guide people, like,
Hmm.
here's your optimal discount stack,
Hmm.
here's
Hmm.
what makes sense for your house,
Hmm.
and here's some qualified contractors that the
Hmm.
the program has vetted.
Hmm.
um, Go forth and do your upgrade and enjoy your home after.
Right. Right. So it sounds like you know, it- there'll be more available for us to be able to access and be able to help and guide other homeowners and builders or whatnot. Um, I'm just very grateful that the Pearl certifications there. As you know, I am somebody who has sold a home with Pearl certification. So can you tell me a little bit about Pearl certification? Um, I know you're the founder. How did you get to this Pearl to create this Pearl certification? Because there are many other certification programs that we're aware of, and obviously LEED was one of the first that came about, and which is very comprehensive and very complex. And there are other certification programs for what we call green homes, but your program is very unique in that you are really working with all these other entities, including Department of Energy and an appraisal institute. Can you tell me a little bit about the genesis of a Pearl certification?
Sure. Thank you for asking, Izumi. I'll say a little bit about my background. I used to work as a green builder back in early 2000s, late 90s into early 2000s, and had my lead AP in 2008,
Mm-hmm.
and had been doing consulting work, mixed use, some residential actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember back in the day that the conversation was doing new construction was always that, hey, the house doesn't have to cost a whole lot more to build it right, to build it well. There are ways we can value engineer and think about doing this if we're taking it into account on the front end,
Mm-hmm.
that can actually give you a better performing house at about the same cost as your code built house.
Mm-hmm.
So when the market tanked in 2008, and we had to like sell our businesses, and everything was just a hot mess in new construction at that time.
Mm-hmm.
The sideways career maneuver that I did took me into running energy efficiency and renewable energy programs in commercial, low-income multifamily and resi, and also still doing some LEED related work.
Mm-hmm.
And it became really apparent by the time we hit 2012 that buildings which had Energy Star labels on them and LEED labels on them were selling for more, they were renting for more, they came in at a higher appraisal.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to hand it to LEED and to Energy Star and some of these other labels.
Mm-hmm.
Their requirement, well, maybe not a requirement, you could get extra points, if you had a kiosk in the lobby of the building that explained the high performing features of the home. And that was so smart, because property managers and real estate agents that sold and rented those properties got smart on what about these buildings were better to work in or to live in or to shop in, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And that the agents actually played a role in helping these buildings become more valuable, because they were that bridge between the engineering and the kiosk and the customer coming in. So we were looking at homeowners who were spending, an equivalent amount of investment into their homes, and then they would put their homes into the resale transaction and they got nothing more for them. The agents were like, oh, nobody cares about that, or it's not a kitchen remodel, so whatever. And the problem was that the performance characteristics about the home and what the benefits were kind of invisible, like in attics and crawl spaces behind walls, your silver box looks like a silver box. So our whole thinking was, we have a data discrepancy and we have an educational discrepancy, and if we can solve for it in residential, and we have a playbook, and we saw what worked with commercial, then we might really be able to help homeowners, real estate agents, contractors, who care about sustainability and a better quality of life. So that was really the genesis for Pearl. And most of the certifications and labels that are out there, in fact, pretty much all of them that I know of, were created for new construction.
Right.
And it's a lot easier when you're starting out with a blank slate and a checklist than it is, I lived in Virginia. The first house that we remodeled was built in 1776.
Oh my God.
All the way up to, a brand new house that you might build, and the construction practices and what you would recommend for building shell upgrades and things like that can be really, really different, over time. And so I think the hard part is the existing home.
Yeah.
But that's where most of our carbon and most of the need is. So we've
Exactly.
really focused our certification in existing homes. We do have new build and production
Mm-hmm.
builders that we work with
Mm-hmm.
for new construction,
Mm-hmm.
but we felt like the hardest problem to solve was with the existing homes. And so the certification was created and initially to speak to that.
Right, right. Well, that goes right along with this Inflation Reduction Act that, all the homeowners who
Mhm.
already have an existing home can do those things to make your home more comfortable and efficient. And that's a perfect match.
It
Is
is, it
yeah.
is. And I just want to underscore, like, agents like yourself
Hmm.
that are green agents that understand the benefits of living in a higher performing home. It's not just something for Hollywood stars
Right,
and rich people or
right.
whatever.
Hmm.
Insulation and air sealing is like table stakes for home
Exactly.
ownership. Everybody
Yeah,
should go do it. And
yeah.
then when you need to replace your heating and cooling, get something that is going to lower your bills and make you more comfortable. We should all be enjoying these types of houses. And
Hmm.
you all are really on the front lines of having conversations with past clients,
Hmm.
current clients
Hmm.
around their quality of life in their homes. Appreciate the
Exactly.
work you do.
Exactly. Well, I appreciate the work you do. Thank you so much for putting together this Pearl certification program. It's just in my experience of working with you and your other staff members at Pearl certification. It's been such a great experience for me, and it's been so helpful to 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 utilize the certification process. So I appreciate that, and I hope that we will be able to really um, promote this Inflation Reduction Act so that more people can take advantage of this, you know, a gift from a government that
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
make our life better.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think the fact that you're just getting this information out there now and helping agents what's actionable today, what
Hmm.
they should be thinking about for later
Hmm.
is really important.
Yeah.
Agents are such a great conduit for the source of the source, the information,
Yeah.
given your relationships and people calling you up. I think a lot, hey,
Mhm.
if I do this home improvement, will it add value to my house?
Exactly.
I'll have a whole other conversation to have now.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm aiming for. Well, thank you so much, Cynthia, for your time today. And I will put the infographic that you have that Pearl created about Inflation Reduction Act as a PDF on the show notes so people can download and take a look. And we can always look at Pearl certification online, correct? What's the
Yeah, yeah.
website? Is it?
Pearlcertification.com
All
is how
right.
you can find us. And if
Okay.
you're interested in checking out our consumer facing portal,
Hmm.
which provides information on what types of improvements you can do,
Oh, that's
there's a
right.
rebate finder in there
Mhm.
for rebates that exist with utilities and a whole bunch of resources. You can find that at greendoor.app,
Green Door dot app.
greendoor.pp.
Yes. Yes. I
Mhm.
actually use it to uh, input all my upgrades and improvement that I've done in the last 2 years, and I'm at silver level right now. And
Well,
I'm
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm hoping that with the rebates and the incentives available, we'll be able to put on the solar panels and storage, which we could have used this in the last snowstorms where we lost 3 days of power. So I think storage is really critical. It really made me think about the resilience of different homes. So thank you so much, Cynthia. And this was Home Green Homes Podcast. Izumi Tanaka. Until the next episode.